exactly what time it is. I, of course, am very aware of the time and I value yours. So let's get into it. Welcome to the Bizstrology Blueprint Breakdown. I am going to get into the men behind stripe. And the reason I'm doing this is because I've been over there writing on Substack and I'm seeing just a surge. And, I'm so excited that more people are reading and getting over there to do so, to write and to read, and to get off of those social networks that are working against us. But most of us have, we pay for these subscriptions, we pay for these services, but we do not always know where our money goes. And so, as someone who's been a spiritual solo entrepreneur for over the last 18 years, I wanted to really start to look at where was my money going. This really started for me back a few years ago. Do you remember when Jay-Z owned Tidal, when he bought Tidal? When he became the owner of Tidal. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. I jumped right on because I love Jay-Z and his music at that time. That was a long time ago. But who he bought it from and who he was working with was another person. I'll get into that in just a little bit. And so this person, I thought, okay, if this is a person that Jay-Z is doing business with, this must be someone that's okay for me to do business with. And his, what he does is very similar to what the men behind stripe. And so I was like, okay. And so, as an early adapter, as I've always been in so many different things, again, going back to 2018, I started back then with the same, I'm one of those loyalists. I'm on the Leo cusp. So if you are in my tribe, you are in my tribe. Do you know what I'm saying? I am loyal to you. I will go back to you over and over. And so many of the businesses that I work with and, have subscriptions to, I've worked with for a very long time. And that's why when I decided to do this deeper dive into the men behind stripe, I thought, wait a minute, there's more to this. And so as I was developing the Bizstrology blueprint, I thought, you know what, why not share this with more people? Because as a librarian and the astrologist, I started doing my research. And what I found, beloveds, is going to shock you. It's going to shock you. And I'm not here to shock you. I'm here to share with you my librarian, researched data. And so what I want to share with you is the birth charts. I've got my iPad right here. And I will be sharing with you some of the things that I look at when I do a Bizstrology blueprint, because this is what I do with my clients and those that I get to work with when I share astrology, because I absolutely love astrology. I do it at everything. If you see what time we started, numerology, tarot, all of it, color astrology, that's my jam. And so when I work with people, I'm very intentional. Even the colors I wear, the timing, all of it. Today is Venus Day. That's why we're talking about money, because today is Venus Day and it is the day that Venus likes to really show up and show out. I've shared this before. This is why people get paid on Fridays, because it is Venus Day. And because of that energy, we're automatically, again, not even without trying, Venus, depending on where she is in your chart, is working on us to feel good. So this is why a lot of people, and I just got paid, it's Friday night, then we go out and want to spend it because Venus has us wanting to feel good. And so can you give me a thumbs up and also hit the like button, comment, follow, share, subscribe, so I know you are enjoying what I'm putting down. But what I bet you don't know, let's get into it. And so, but let me share it one more time. I am Tanya Melendez. I am the founder of Chart and Soul Astrology, creator of Cosmicnomics, and the Bizstrology Blueprint Breakdown. So Fact number one. So not only was his Stripe only been in business less than um, 20 years, their valuation at this time is over two something billion dollars. I'm sharing this because you need to know that this is privately owned. They are not on the stock exchange. They are still privately owned. And I'm about to get into their chart in just a minute because what I found is something that you're going to want to know about. But first, I wanted to share with you some of the people behind Stripe. So not only the two brothers, I'm going to dive into their chart as well as the chart of Stripe. The two brothers, the reason they are still privately held is because who they are backed by. So the first is Sequoia Capital and CV Angel. These are investment and Anderson Horowitz. These are some of the, upper echelon um, venture capitalists, and all of the money, they're controlling all of the money. But I bet you didn't know that Peter Thiel, as well as that South African, I will never say his name because then I give him power, but the one who had Doge over there in the United States. Thank you so much for letting me know. Hey, Angel, buenas tardes. Yo soy vive en México también. So, yes, the South African. So, do you remember back when we were in the pandemic experience and the rich people were getting richer? This is why, beloveds, because every time you processed a payment with Stripe, they got paid. How many of your subscriptions are set to Stripe right now? They're getting paid. And I did say the South African, the one who was the head of Doge. Okay, every time you swipe, stripe, say that 5 times fast, he is getting paid. I bet you didn't know that. I bet you didn't know that. And now that you do, the next time you see a payment option and Stripe is the only one, you might need to write who you are paying and let them know that you don't work with them, because I have been like that. I don't have the other one, PP. I don't like to call a lot of names, but anyway, PayPal. I don't have PayPal and haven't for a very long time because of their practices, and I know who the money is going to. We'll be diving into those too. But let's get into this astrology. So Peter Thiel, Emma Grady's husband, what's his name? Oh gosh, the Swedish guy. Something Grady, her husband, as I shared with you, Sequoia Capital, SV Angel, and Anderson Horowitz. These people are beyond rich, and every single time you swipe, they're getting paid. And I want you to know where your money is going. So, first of all, I want to share with you the chart for the business because this is the astrology. And then I want to share with you the brothers astrology. But before I do that, two things I want to share with you. And as you can see, it is hot here in Mexico. The summer is on full blast. First of all, Stripe was started, I'm going to get into the numerology about this. Stripe was started on September 29th, 2011. That's when it first launched. But the two brothers that own it are actually based and really began in Limerick, Ireland. So Stripe is not an American company. They have headquarters because they want that American dollar and transaction, but they also have offices, obviously, in Delaware, where many of the other banks, credit cards, multi-billionaires, all of them have banking in Delaware. We're going to get into that too. But they're based in Limerick, Ireland, where they're from. So I ran their birth chart, not based on California. That's where they have headquarters. I based it because that's where they're from, that's where they live, and that's where their real business is. And so when I did their chart, first thing that stood out for me, beloveds, right away as an astrologist, the first thing that stood out for me is they have a huge Libra stellium. They have a huge Liam stellium at their IC. They have their sun, their moon, their Mercury, their Venus, and their Saturn. This is the business of Stripe, all in Libra, and it is at the in the fourth and fifth house. And so, what that is telling me, it's right off the bat with all of that Venus energy. Remember, Venus is the planet not just of pleasure and love, but it is money and prosperity. And this is why when you get a Bizstrology blueprint, the first thing we do is look at the houses. We look at the money planets because your business has a birth chart. That's what I'm doing here, just like you do. And so when I looked at that and saw, as you can see all my notes there, that they have that stellium there and it's at their IC, this lets me know that they have turned something upside down. And one of the other part about this is Venus, as I said, is pleasure and passion, but it is also profits. So giving their business, seeing that their business, they're in the money business, makes sense. And let me look at the numerology. When I look at the numerology of September 29th, 2011. So let's look at that. So September, we know that is 9. So 9 plus 29, so that would be 11. So 9 plus 11, right? Is that right? So I do 2 plus 11. Yep, so 9 plus 11. So that is 20. And that was in 2011, which is 4. So 24, if we break that down even to a further single digit, that is 6. That is the lovers. That is Venus. So they're using that Venus energy, they're using their Libra energy literally to get pleasure from profits. But remember, as I stated a little while ago, they are privately held. They do not have to go public. They are valued at over 2 point something $1 billion because every small business, even bigger businesses, using Substack. The reason I don't have paid subscriptions on Substack, 2 reasons, and then I'm going to get back into their chart. 2 reasons. Because I write because I love to write. And I know I want to share a lot. So Stars and Stacks, which is about my books and of course money and all of that, and I'll tell you more about that later, it's a passion project. It's something I absolutely love to do. And I don't need to commodify everything. But the other reason is 2 reasons. First of all, Substack for paid subscriptions, they get their cut, and then the other cut then goes to Stripe. And so this is how I started going down this rabbit hole because I was like, wait a minute, who owns Stripe? So then I looked at their business. So when we look at that, then number 6, which in the tarot equates to lovers, they really are loving themselves all the way to the bank because these 2 men are under 40, by the way. I should let you know. One was born in, let me make sure I got that right. One was born in 88 and the other one was born in 90. So they're under 40 and they have business valued at over 2 billion privately held. 2 billion, and it is still privately held. Imagine how their parents are feeling. So are you understanding what I am putting down? Are you enjoying so far the Bizstrology breakdown? I would love to see some reactions, as well as make sure you hit that subscribe, like, as well as comment, please. And so the other point I wanted to share, so they've got all that Libra going on, but they also then have Cancer on the ascendant and Capricorn on the descendant. So there is this quality of them feeling like they are doing a service. They are helping so many people, and they have. So I'm not just here to say that they're negative. That's not my point, but I am sharing who their backers are. I am sharing what their chart says. And one of the secrets that I found in their chart, and I'm going to show you this in just a moment, the secret that I found is this right here. They have an empty 8th house. That empty 8th house follows through a pattern and a theme. As an astrologist, I want to show you this. So Brother Patrick, this is his chart. You can see I have notes here. So this is Patrick, empty 8th house. John, empty 8th house. So as you can see, their business, as well as each of the brothers, have an empty 8th house. Now, in astrology, the 8th house is other people's money. When it is empty, what that means, it is open. And the business 8th house on the cusp is Aquarius. So it would make sense that they acquired their backing from outsiders because they put out the idea, and truly the money that has been written in their chart came in. They used all that Libra energy of bringing in balance. What did small businesses need but a way to process their money? Do you remember before Zelle, before Cash App, before all of that, what did you do? What did we do? We would have to send, the only one that there was actually, I think, PayPal. PayPal was one of the first processors. And then there was Square, and then there was Stripe. We're going to get into Square, which is what I use, and its owner, Jack Dorsey, in the next one. But what this empty 8th house, especially in their business chart, shows is, again, the backers. And they have some of the most powerful backers. Remember, I shared the 8th house is other people's money. And so with that Cancer on the ascendant and Capricorn on the descendant, and that I see in Libra, and then at the top of their chart, they have in their 10th house is Aries. I have Aries in the 10th house, so I know what that's like. But they also up there in the 11th house, they have they have Jupiter in Taurus, and they have Lilith in Aries over there in the 10th. So again, what they've done is using, if I'm being an astrologer, what they did was bring out, again, what people needed. What we did not have, they brought the solution. And they really used the chart well, because in truth, based on the chart alone, and maybe they did use an astrologer, and I hope that they did, because they even have the vertex in the 5th house. The 5th house is, again, one of those points that I always go to when I do a Bizstrology blueprint, even with my clients, because that is speculative. The 5th house is, again, of Leo, and that is where we can really shine and really bring in money from very creative sources. So I always look at the 5th. But that empty 8th house on all of their charts really shows me, beloveds, that they have definitely tapped into something that none of us, probably did not know. And because they have Mars in the 2nd house in Leo, again, they knew that they needed to come out with a big splash, and boy, have they. And so now that you know this, who the backers are and who are the men behind Stripe, are you gonna see Stripe differently? Because I want you to understand then the older brother, John, whose sun is in Leo, his south node is in Aquarius, in the 10th house, and his moon is also there in the 10th house. And so his energy to go far and wide is exactly what Stripe has done. Stripe is worldwide, pardon me. And so that energy comes because, again, he met a need. But his south node is right there in a very tight conjunction with his north node. So he was destined to be an entrepreneur because he's got that sun in Leo, and it is in the 5th house. So he's got that double Leo energy. and as well as his south node. He also then has his Chiron and his Venus in Cancer as well as Jupiter. So right now he's been experiencing the Jupiter in Cancer, and as you can see, and as if you want to do your own research, you can see that they have had a phenomenal year because one of the brothers has been having Jupiter his um, in his uh, he has Jupiter in Cancer in his natal chart, and that is the older brother. And so I know for sure. And then with the wound, so possibly, possibly he may have, had to deal with some family issues this year, and maybe even some type of um, transition of somebody in his family. I didn't go into their personal lives at all. But the other thing I wanted to show that I found very fascinating is he has a Taurus AC, a Taurus ascendant and a Scorpio descendant with Pluto right there on that descendant in Scorpio, and it's a double, and Mars in on his ascendant there. And so he's got a very strong personality as a CEO. So let's get into then Patrick, the younger brother, who then is a Virgo, and he has a stellium of Virgo in the fourth house. So he's the one who probably came up with the idea of let's make this a service, let's make this a subscription, yada, yada, yada. And so with his sun and South Node and Lilith in an stellium in that fourth house, carrying that Cancer energy, he knew that they were going to be a household name. And it seems like, as well, I should let you know that it was Patrick who really was the technology guy. I think he got an award as a scientist of studying something he was studying in university. And so it was most likely his idea for the app to begin. And so and his moon is in Leo. So they both have a lot of Leo energy, but they also have strong Cancer energy. So they didn't just do this for themselves, they did this for their legacy, they did this for their parents. And so their parents should be very proud and happy for them. As I said, these are brothers are under 40 years old, and their privately held business is valued at over $2 billion. And so the reason I wanted to share this with you is because you need to know where we need to know as a society where our money goes. And I also should tell you, this is me using cosmicnomics. So as I shared at the top of the hour, this is Venus day, and I'm talking about money, and I'm using this energy to support all of us. And so as many of us are going through some type of financial changes, right, up or down, doesn't matter, we all have value and worth, and it has nothing to do with what's in our bank accounts. But I know we are all being very conscious of where our money goes. And this is why I wanted to share the Bizstrology blueprint. So I wanted to share with you not only my librarian, but also the astrologer. We need to know where our money is going. We need to know where every dollar is being spent. I know I do. If you knew that your money was going towards something negative, would you keep sending money there? I know I wouldn't. And I wanted us all to be empowered. So I want you to come back here week after week for not only Bizstrology breakdowns. Next week, as I said, we're going to get into Mr. Jack Dorsey, owner of Square, and that is the processor that I use, and I'll share with you why, just like this, because I want you to know where every dollar you go, every dollar you spend goes. So the next time you swipe on Stripe, I want you to know whose pockets are getting full with that swipe. And I also want to remind you, have you seen the Gemini Bookstrology? The Bookstrology is how I share books of themes for the year for you, so you're not just getting random books and listening to everybody's recommendation. I'm a librarian and an astrologer, so I have curated books that are on theme with some of the experiences that are going on above you. As above, so below. So I want you to have books that support you. So go ahead and look for your yearly theme in Bookstrology and make sure you get those books, because guess what? Make sure you click my link in bio and get on the mailing list, because I've got something big coming up. I, of course, as a librarian, I cannot wait to get started, because I will be sharing some super amazing bookstrology. But also, I want to make sure that you know even your color astrology. And so if you didn't get a peek at the Gemini color astrology, it is a short right there, but I wanted to give you just a peek so you can see how do you use color astrology? Well, today's color is Ming. Today is the 5th, right? I got the right date. Yes, it is. It is the 5th. Yes, and it is Ming, exuberant, friendly, youthful. And I love this color because it says you receive the answers that come only when you are in a restful place. And so it helps you release excess energy and become quietly conscious. So as I shared with you, there is nothing that I do that is not connected to the stars. I look at the numerology, I look at the planetary hour, because I want you to embody astrology. I don't want you to just know it as a fact and something that you know. I want you to feel it. So you see how I've got that glimpse of Ming right here and right here. This is how one of the other ways I love to share astrology, by using color astrology. And we know that colors do definitely have an impact on us. So I am so grateful for you joining me for the first Bizstrology blueprint breakdown. I hope as I share that you now know every single time you swipe who is getting paid. And if you love this content and want to see more of this and some book astrology where I share also the same type of thing with books. I did my first one of Emma Grady's book. I forget the name already. Oh my God. Yourself, something yourself. Oh my goodness, I forgot it. But it is down below, where I get into the book astrology of both Emma Grady as the author, which I do again for my clients, and I got into the book, the launch date. So you can see that book astrology there. And if you know that you would want to have a deep dive like this for yourself, comment below and I will make sure we get in contact. But make sure you get onto and into the email community, so you stay tuned with every single thing. Follow me over there on Substack at Stars and Stacks. All my links are there below. And this is truly the summer of sovereignty, beloveds. It is time for us to be conscious. This Uranus and Gemini energy is reminding us that we are the liberators of ourselves. What we think about, we bring about. And now more than ever, our inner rebel is saying, where are we spending our money? So until next time, beloveds, tap in, tune in, turn on, and keep on shining.